can tell you the days of doing this are over. I've got to protect my investment, and I need an easy way to get it in and out whenever I use it. So welcome back to the shop, everybody. In today's episode, we're going to be building a plasma cart. More importantly, for protecting my brand new investment here, but for ease of taking it in and out. So when I bought my Everlast 102i plasma right here, I bought it because it come with a CNC package. Behind me is a small Langmuir Pro CNC table. And that's mainly where this stays, underneath. But y'all have seen on the channel, I pull this out a lot to put my hand torch on it and go cut outside or elsewhere in the shop. The other big problem, when you leave a fan-powered piece of equipment like this, it uses fans to cool, pulls air in the front and from the sides, blows it out the rear. The lower you have it to the floor, you're around all the dust and debris and everything else. And I blow my shop out multiple times a day, and I've been very nervous about blowing towards this because I don't want to blow any debris in it. All right, so we got some things to take into consideration. We have vents here on the side, main vents up front, all right here. This is where the fans actually pull across all the electronics in here and then blow out the back right here. So I'm going to build a full enclosure that goes over this with a handle on top because I want to protect it from any potential water that comes down underneath. Highly unlikely it'll happen, but what happens if I were to cut a hole in the bottom of my plasma table because I'm cutting really thick material? Well, I'd hate to cut a hole and drain my tank out right on top of a piece of equipment, a sensitive electronic. Let's don't do that. So we're going to have to leave a gap out a decent little ways with our box so we can pull air in here. Again, it looks like the majority comes in up front. I want protection up top. I want it on wheels, up off the ground so we can blow trash and debris out from underneath it. I've been waiting for some wheels to come in. I ordered me a bulk bunch of wheels because I'm always doing projects with little casters like this. So they have arrived. This is something I've been planning on doing for a while anyways. Today's the day to do it. Let's knock it out. And if you were wondering, is this a cordless circular saw that just cuts steel? Yes, it is. Needless to say, I've been testing out some cordless tools for a few weeks, just giving my feedback. And if you're curious about some of this stuff, I will be putting it over on our review channel. But as often is the right thing to do, I like to test these tools and equipment out. By the way, sneak peek, something over here hiding behind me. Maybe you can see it, maybe you can't. More cordless tools that I think you're gonna be super excited about. That's not what today's video is about. This is not sponsored. I'm just in the shop working. But I knew some of y'all were gonna see that and be like, a cordless metal circular cutting saw? By the way, it's mainly made for wood, but it can do this too. Yeah, I've never seen anything quite like it. You probably haven't either. Just made a long rip. Watch, I'm about to cut another piece out right here with it. All right, I don't want this piece to fall when I cut it. So I'm gonna throw a big magnet on right here. Hold these two pieces together so after I make my cut, this won't fall on the floor, hit me in my feet, anything like that. I'm gonna freehand this cut right here. Let's see what we can do. That's pretty awesome. While this isn't super thick steel, that is a cordless tool. I've never known a cordless tool to rip down sheet like this. Not gonna be as straight of a cut without using the track, but for a quick little end piece right here that's gonna get tucked in to that angle iron, we're never gonna see it. Get some gloves on, dummy. All right. Got to cut another piece off this, then we're going to bend everything, because what the heck is the point of cutting a bunch of pieces just to weld it back together? That's why I invested in a bender. Well, here we are a few hours later after the paint has dried. Nothing fancy about this, but I did add a few accessories. I'll show you here in just a second. So since this can pull out super easy, I made it to where you could load it from the rear. I reinforced the front, welded a handle to that. That takes all the wobble out of the thin steel that we used. And it really makes no difference taking it out front or rear. Honestly, whenever I cut out in the shop, I probably am not even gonna remove this from that. This does have lockable wheels, so I probably should lock those while I'm putting this in. All right, let's get this beast of a plasma cutter loaded in from the rear. Okay, so I went ahead and set this up to where I could take my hand torch and wrap it up top. You can see I did a torch holder here, basically just a coil holder. I like the thought of being able to keep everything right here on the machine. Now the power cable I can put up here whenever I want to pull this out, but it always stays plugged in over here as well as the machine torch. Over here on this side, you can see I welded in a couple of hooks, and that's because I keep a long ground clamp for when I'm working outside, and I've got a short ground clamp right here for my plasma table. All right, so I like it. Nice and simple, moves around super, super easy. And I've got everything on board other than my consumables, but that's no big deal because I keep those stored right in my welding cart with all my other consumables for the welder and everything else. So they have their own place. All right, so one quick look around. Like I said, nothing special. Got my casters, I got my protection that I was looking for, top and sides. Still got plenty of airflow and room, but everything's nice and protected, just the way I want it to be. And got a little storage to boot. All right, so now the real test. Does it fit? All right, so being the main use is for CNC work, I'm gonna go ahead and hook it all back up. Go ahead and slide everything in here. Ooh, yeah, fits good. You know what, we got so much lightning storms the next few days, I'm gonna leave my plasma unplugged. All right, y'all, this is a fun episode, and that was much needed. Very well protected now, but still get the airflow, but I love being protected from the sides, especially the top. In case I ever cut through this table for some odd reason, pray that never happens. And now we can just pull this out, go over here in the shop, start cutting tanks and everything else that we do if we just want to put the hand torch on it. This was much needed. Thank y'all for watching. Catch you on the next one.